Okay, well, welcome. This is the first time we are doing this, so I am just going to take a moment to share the feed. We will be covering the Self-Care Summit kickoff welcome message. We have a couple people that will be standing by to be able to answer some questions on the Facebook feed. Of course, we have a couple things that we want to cover as well. Now, for all intents and purposes, at the moment, during this feed, I will be most accessible through the YouTube actual chat feature, through the YouTube Live. If you have any questions or comments or just want to say hey, I would appreciate it. No pressure though, because I know that we all have things. Today is Father's Day, and you know, some people have other priorities and other obligations, and that's okay. I do have to say, when we chose the date, we were choosing it based off of the solstice and the new moon. I hadn't realized that there was also an eclipse today, or yesterday today. So for the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. We are here to kick off the Self-Care Summit, and it's been a long time coming. I know some of you have heard this story 1,000 times, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background. I have spent solid 20 years in careers subjugating myself to take care of others. There were times in hospitality where I wasn't allowed to eat, or I couldn't take a bathroom break, just in the nature of staffing and peak. So with the great pause, this whole COVID corona crisis, I took the opportunity to explore self-care and what that looks like and how to pay attention to what I needed to operate better. My view of self-care used to be Prosecco and pedicures and happy hour with friends and going out for dinner with my partner, and all things that were a payoff, more like a painkiller or a band-aid to get through the self-neglect rather than actually taking care of myself, rather than vitamins. I have a coach that talks about painkillers versus vitamins, and that's very much where I needed to change. Looking at self-care, we're defining it as a deliberately taking care of your well-being through restorative activities. Self-care as a practice is exactly that. It's a practice. It means that you're not going to get it right all the time, and that it needs to be implemented on a daily level. Over the course of preparing the summit, we have 13 international speakers, and I had an opportunity to interview every single one of them. And so many times they all echoed the same thing, that women in particular, because right now this summit is designed by women for women, that women in particular have such a hard time giving themselves permission to matter, giving themselves permission to take care of themselves. And that's just not something that we're taught to do. Growing up, we're taught to take care of our siblings and take care of our friends and help around the house. We're not necessarily taught to pay attention to what we need, or how to do so, even the basic tools of how to do so. So then there also becomes this additional weight of having it all, of trying to manage a family or a relationship, a career, a friend circle, and then fitness and self-care obligations. In having it all, we actually overextend ourselves and lose a great deal. So today is all about exploring that journey for yourself. We have, as I said, a panel of 13 international speakers. The summit is designed as a 7-day program. The people that subscribe to the full program will actually have access to the content through July 1st, because we know that life happens and sometimes you fall behind, and that's okay. The daily structure, publicly on social, we will share the daily affirmations, but within the community, we're also going to have daily yoga and meditation, just as a good way to connect with yourself and move your body and pay attention to how you feel, what you're thinking. Every day we will also have journaling prompts, as well as approximately 2 hours of speaker series on different topics. Now, I approached the Self-Care Summit from the spheres of self-care, the ones that we're mostly familiar with: physical, emotional, community, spirituality, like community, relational, how we connect to others, as well as professional, trying to make sure that we were hitting all targets. In working with some amazing people, in this case, Tara McGrath was with me at the very onset of this journey, and she helped me realign it to the chakras as a guiding premise. Now, I used to practice yoga a great deal more than I do now. I am by no means a yogi, and you don't need that knowledge as a foundation. It's really just a guiding principle to start from a place of grounding and build yourself up. So over the course of the summit, what we're going to do, forget the summit. Today as a kickoff for the summit, we have a series of free events just to give you guys a little bit of a taste, because it's kind of hard to describe the speaker series and what we're going into. So our aim with the summit is to help you find deep, soul-nourishing self-care, self-love, and eventually helping to leverage that into soul care. So to help you grow into a daily practice of self-acceptance and self-love, and have that be a non-negotiable for you. In doing so, our different speakers are covering different topics. As I said, the structure is such that it's aligned to the chakra system. So on Monday, we'll be covering grounding. On Tuesday, we're covering feeling and emotion. Wednesday is transforming and finding that inner spark that makes you amazeballs. Thursday is loving, and Friday is expressing. On Saturday, we'll move on to intuition, and Sunday we end on expanding and transcendence, which is a different level or a different way to connect in with yourself as well as with the community. Now, through all of that, as I said, there'll be daily yoga and meditations, as well as daily speaker series. We'll also have daily live discussions within the community, very similar to this model. So let's hope that this works out for us. Today, however, we have this kickoff. I was hoping to be a chat, but so far it looks like I'm pretty much on my own, and that's okay. Part of self-love is being okay hanging out on your own. Tara will be hosting a new moon ceremony and intention setting from Nicaragua in about an hour. And then I'll be coming back at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm just going to stick in Eastern time because that's where I am physically, geographically. It makes it a little bit easier for me to keep up with that. For another short talk on showing up for yourself, what that means, and how a couple tips on how to do so. And then at 5 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to stick in Eastern time. The rest are published in the events if you want to know what time zone that means for you. At 5 o'clock Eastern, I will be hosting a watch party of a beautiful session that Sydney Fletcher put together for us about self-care we don't see. Again, expanding that awareness and exploration of what self-care can be. And then at 7 o'clock Eastern, I will be hosting another watch party for another beautiful talk from Elise Large, who is my food and fitness guru. She and I worked together many moons ago, and the way she approached fitness and at the time dieting from a place of such radical body positivity and acceptance was a beautiful thing. Those that know me know that I see cheese as a food group, so diet is not really my bag. But the way Elise approaches it is a beautiful, solid foundation. And then tomorrow morning, we will be offering the yoga and meditation for free, and Trepper will be doing that for us from Belgium. So stay tuned for that as well. After that, we will close the doors to the private community, and that's in large respect due to the fact that there's been so much time invested in this, and we want to make sure that our speakers get taken care of as well. So again, the basic premise of the flow is through the chakra model. So that's grounding, feeling, transformation, loving, expression, intuition and transcendence, and expanding that sense of connection to the divine, to everything. Over that recorded speaker series, because we do have people, we're working with a 9-hour time zone differential. We've got some people, some speakers and participants on the West Coast. We've got people throughout North America, and we also have people in Europe. So we're trying to make sure that we can adapt to everybody's schedule. And those topics will include nutrition, sexual energy, and the shame that comes with expectations from other people, emotional awareness, acceptance, setting boundaries, which I know a lot of people struggle with, financial awareness, connection to desire, finding a way to listen to yourself and create rituals and daily implementation for you to be able to actually connect. So if you don't know what you want, you don't know where you're going, right? So you can't build a map, you can't build an action plan unless you know what you're trying to do. We're also going to cover conscious communication, intuition, and self-trust, connecting to a deeper self, as well as a connection to all things. So it's a pretty wide scope. We also firmly believe that we learn from community, that we grow better in collaboration and in mirroring from other people. So most of the discussion is going to be within the self-care or soul care community group. You can join that for free, and there will be additional resources there. Again, there's also a level of privacy and comfort. So we don't necessarily want to be, most people don't feel comfortable airing their demons or their vulnerabilities publicly on social media. And I completely understand that. So we've built a separate community to be able to nurture that and support that network as well. A large part of our model has been fill your cup first. In that concept of put on your own oxygen mask first, as you always hear on flights and so on, or back when you could have flights. I'd like to expand that a little bit more to remind everyone. I remember when I was working in hospitality, I would be doing 16-hour days, and I wouldn't eat, and I'd be highly caffeinated and not rested. And I used to have a restaurant manager that would randomly bring me plates of fruit and cheese. And at some point in working together, I realized I was just a massively overgrown toddler, that if I took the time to eat and take care of myself, I was a much better human. And the way that we distress our bodies and distress ourselves, both physically and emotionally and psychologically, takes a toll. So the concept is also to find ways that work for you on a daily implementation, to be able to take that, to build a toolbox of what you need today, right now. It is not designed as a psychological exercise so much as an actual plan to develop some skills that you can bring forward in your daily life. So for me personally, the Great Pause was an incredible opportunity to connect and reconsider what I want in my life, to be intentional and consider what I want to encourage and allow in my life and what I want to build. What kind of world do we want to be in, and what actions we're willing to take to get to that level, to what behaviors we need to take it to that level, to build the world that we want, rather than just make do and keep pushing. That sense of our only values and productivity, for me, was greatly questioned and definitely altered my perspective. Another concept is that we have 60,000 thoughts a day on average, and how many of those are toxic? Just allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to matter, creates a doorway to be able to consider those thoughts and challenge them. Because a lot of those, the way we speak to ourselves, we would never dare speak to another person that way. But we're so harsh with ourselves, and that becomes an automatic behavior. That becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in circles. So the more you have self-doubt, the more it reinforces your overall lack of self-worth. I'm just taking some notes real quick. So overall, I mean, I'm not going to keep you guys forever. This is really just intended as a welcome message. Just wanted to say welcome. Thank you for joining us on this journey. I have a background in applied human science, and it used to drive me nuts. We couldn't skip class in university because your presence, or denying your presence, was a missed learning opportunity for the rest of the group. Sadly, though that used to drive me nuts, it's actually become very ingrained in my way of life. We learn so much from one another. We learn so much in our relationship to one another. So we invite you to join us in the community, and you don't need to subscribe for the full summit if you don't want to. I'm not trying to pressure anybody, but join the conversation and start making yourself a priority. Looking forward to having you today and throughout the rest of the week. Let us know if there's anything we can do.